I'm Darryl Jeffries. I've been invited to speak a bit about the tara. And yeah, so I'll give a little intro to myself and then I'll go through the birds. It shouldn't take too long. Fairly informal talk. So yeah, so basically today I'll just give a little rundown, put the tara in context with all the other tara species that are in New Zealand. So I'm not sure if tara incorporates all the terns or it's just the white-fronted tern, but there's quite a few other species as well. And I'll talk about where it is here at Whatipu and on the west coast of Auckland, and just give a little general rundown of its biology and how they live, what they do. And I'll just broaden it out to other shorebirds on the coast, since that's kind of how I became involved with Whatipu and the west coast of Auckland and Friends of Whatipu. I've done a lot of shorebird work and conservation. So just a little intro for me. I'm currently at the Natural Sciences Department at Auckland Museum. So I'm a collection technician there, which means I help look after all the different natural science specimens we have. We have collection managers in different departments, so there's botany, land vertebrates, which is the birds and mammals, marine, so all your fish and like the things you'll see in rock pools on the coast, and entomology, which is our insects and other bugs and things. So that's basically my day job. My background before that, I was born and bred in Auckland, so I grew up in Point Chevalier. That was my childhood. I went to Massey High School out west for my high school. And following that, went straight to uni to do biology degrees, and I've always been interested in conservation and ecology. So I did degrees in basically conservation, ecology and animal behaviour. And so my first studies were out there at Papakanui Spit in the Kaipara Harbour. So I was looking at terns breeding, the behaviour, how they reacted to different disturbances, and so that's how I got into tara work. And I've got a little photo there of me trying out a decoy to see if the terns would respond to it, because that's a possible tool to help with conservation in the future, if you can get the tara to go where you want them to go. I've been involved with other shorebird work as well, so looking after the dotterels. So this is one getting its little ring on the finger. Well, this is actually, that's a New Zealand dotterel. So some of you might know a guy called Adrian Regan, who's any dotterels that nest along the west coast, if we can in time, you can get them before they fledge, before they fly, and you can't catch them anymore. You put little rings on them and you can trace, will they stay on the west coast, will they go to the Manukau Harbour, Kaipara Harbour, somewhere else, and that's a way that we can track how the species is doing. So that's kind of my background, and probably all that stuff is why I'd be invited to talk about tara today. So within New Zealand and Aotearoa, the tara within family Laridae, and that includes the gulls and the noddies and all the different tern species. So we've got 26 species that have been known to be in New Zealand, at some point in time they show up in New Zealand that we know of so far. There's 5 species of gulls, so we've got 3 that breed in Aotearoa, but a couple of others that sometimes visit occasionally. We've got 3 species of noddy, which is like a subtropical tern-like bird. And they're mostly in the Kermadec Islands, Rangitahua. So they're the tropical things. They don't really get to the mainland that much. And we've got 7 tern species. So 8 have been known to breed in Aotearoa. There's some that are only in the north, like Rangitahua. Some that are only in the subantarctic, like the Antarctic tern. And others, true species, have only in the last 100 years been known to breed in New Zealand, and some only in the last 10 years. So we have new native species. So for the tara species, the terns, there's tara, white-fronted tern at the top. It's our most common one. It's the one you'll probably see around all of the coast of New Zealand. There's Taranui, Caspian tern, which is a lot bigger. It's got the big red beak. It's about the size of the blackback gulls. Sooty tern is one of the tropical ones that you only get in the Kimberleys. Tara black-fronted tern, that's the one that nests on the South Island riverbeds. So that's like a South Island tern that doesn't come to the North Island very often. Antarctic tern is the one I mentioned, just only breeds on the sub-Antarctic islands like Auckland Island, Campbell Island, all those places south of Stewart Island. Taraiti is probably our most rare and endangered bird in New Zealand. There's around about, I'm not sure how the latest breeding season went, but 40 to 50 birds. And they're mostly around Whatipu, Kangawhai, Kaikoura Harbour, Papaganui Spit was one place they bred, which is why I did my study there, and that kind of north of Auckland area. So they're really cute. That's the Taraiti at the bottom there, the little orange bill, like the English name fairy tern, so they're like little fairies. The two at the bottom there, the gull-billed tern and the white-winged black tern, those have, like, normally you'd call them vagrants. They show up in the country and they don't really breed or anything, but those two species have had some breeding records, and the gull-billed tern, like in 2019 and 2021 I think, they started breeding down by Invercargill, so I guess if they keep doing that and they keep arriving, like more arrive, because they're mostly around Australia, you could probably say they're a new native species because humans didn't bring them here, they got here themselves. So that's where the tara fits within all the other tara species that are in New Zealand. It's by far our most common one. So, the distribution, it's all around the New Zealand coast, so from like Pickeringa all the way down to Stewart Island, and some of the offshore islands as well. I think Auckland Island has them, Chatham's probably. It's the tern that you'll see with the red-billed gulls and other things around the coast. They favour the coastal areas, so they don't go inland so much like some of the other terns do, like the ones that go up the braided riverbeds or freshwater lakes like Rotorua or something like that. These ones like hanging around the coast. And they're like, you can tell a tern from a gull, because gulls will sit on the water and pick at things. Terns fly above, look at little fish down underneath, and they dive into the water to catch their food. So that's how they feed. They're the plunge divers. And so, if you go fishing out in the Hauraki Gulf, you'll see what people call workups. It's a lot of gannets and terns and gulls all diving into the water in one place. Like a big chunk of the birds diving into the water will be the tara.
Hey, what about all these many seabirds got blown in by the big wind and they were all up the PR road and all over the forest?
That can happen sometimes with storms, so that's a regular occurrence.
What were they? There were many seabirds died.
Yeah, that's a whole different family of birds. So the Laridae would be the gulls, terns, and noddies. And the ones you're thinking of, maybe the petrels and the shearwater and that sort of thing. That's a whole different type of bird family. So they're the seabirds. They're a lot more pelagic lifestyle. They spend most of their time at sea and just come to land to breed. Whereas tara, they'll hang out on land when they're not feeding. So, yeah, I'll go on to talk about where they are in this region. So, from my work, working up on the west coast beaches, I've been up to Papaganui Spit in the Kaikoura Harbour, I know Murawai, and I've done work down here to Whatipu and also inland all the bays, the northern Manukau Harbour. I know that they have colonies often with the gannets at Murawai, and Te Hinga is another spot. So they're not big colonies. The ones I've seen are just, there's a little rock stack at the south end of the beach. The terns like to nest on the rocky cliffs. And a Whata, I've seen the same thing. There's little rock stacks just off the coast that sometimes you'll get tara on. Kare, I've seen them on that little island just off the shore. They're not the thing with tara nest sites is they don't always use the same place year after year after year after year. So they'll often skip years, or sometimes they'll just occasionally nest in a certain spot. So that's what I found with most of the case of the West Coast sites, except they're pretty regular at Muriwai Gannet Colony, and they're pretty regular here at Whatipu, out on the rocks. What we call the Limepin Rock. I forget the pronunciation of the Māori name. But, so there's the rock with the lighthouse, there's the rounded one, and then there's some of the little stacks around. They'll nest on all of those. So you'll see a colony. And I'll talk about, well, this is just a little map. So Muriwai right at the top, southern end of Te Henga, you get the terns. Anawhata, you get the terns. Kari Kari, I've had them, and then down here, usually regular colonies at Whatipu. And this is, yeah, just kind of landscape you'll find them in. So that little stack off the coast, that's the kind of place if the terns were going to nest, that's where they'd pick. And this is Kari Kari. It's a nice moody photo, just as a thunderstorm was passing over. I don't know if you can tell, but there's tiny little terns. So I happened to take that photo on a summer when the terns were nesting on that rock stack. And then, yeah, Kari Kari again, and a nice picture of the sunset here at Whatipu. And there would have been terns on those rocks in the background. So, with tara, they usually nest in colonies. They like being together. You don't see one nest on its own somewhere. They always seek out company. So they do courtship flights and feeding where the male will catch a fish, and he'll fly up in the air with it, and he'll do a little zigzag dance, like flight. And he'll try and get the female's attention, and he'll zigzag behind her with his fish in his beak. And if he impresses her enough, then she says, right, you're the one for me, we'll make a nest somewhere. And they all tend to nest around about the same time. Like they'll suss out rocks where they're going to have their colony, and then once the first few start, then everyone goes in, and it's pretty synchronous nesting. You know, within a few days you'll get a whole lot of birds laying their nests. Well, most of the colony will start at the same time. And usually it's late spring, early summer, so probably we're looking at mid-October to when the terns might be out on the rocks out there. You might see them flocking on it, so that's probably them checking out, okay, we'll try this place for the summer later on, but the actual nesting might start later in October. And the colony will last through that time until the last chicks have hatched and fledged, and then it'll be kind of deserted there again. So they usually put 1 to 3 eggs. 3 is pretty rare, 2 is uncommon, 1's the usual amount. They'll have just 1 egg. And the incubation is kind of just under 4 weeks, so once they've laid the egg, they'll incubate, and about 1 month later that egg will start to hatch. And they'll get their little fluffy chicks, and the fluffy chicks will be in that nest site for about a week until they start walking around. If they're on the beach, they might wander a bit, but on the rocky stacks, they'll probably stay put most of the time. And when they start to fly, they start to get their wing feathers. We call that fledging. That's when you'll start to see them gathering on the beach, and they have speckly coloured plumage, so they're not smooth white and grey colours when that's the adult coloration. If you see the little stripy bars on them, that's young tern. And so, it's about 5 weeks old when those terns can finally start to fly, and they'll follow their parents sometimes, or otherwise they'll just wait on the beach and wait for the parent to bring back a fish in the beak. So the parents feed the chicks for quite a long time after the chicks fledge, because you think learning to dive down and catch a fish yourself is quite a skill to master. So the parents will feed the chicks for quite a while once they've fledged, and the chicks will sometimes follow the parents and then wait on the shore, and the parent will feed them until finally the chicks, like, they practice in streams and lagoons, which is why any beach with a stream or a lagoon is a likely place for a colony, maybe. That's the kind of places they'll pick. So that's the tara. that's a little background, and I'll just continue on just to broaden it out a little to some of the other species that I've been looking after and keeping an eye on out here on the west coast. So the New Zealand dockerel's a biggie. That's quite threatened around the country, and so we want to look after all the places that they are. They're mostly the north half of the North Island, so maybe down as far as Raglan or Taranaki. They'll be down there, and East Cape on the east side. But here at Whatipu we have a few, I'd say 3 to 4 pairs at the Whatipu south end. Karikari has maybe another 3 to 4 pairs, depending. Sometimes they'll switch, they'll move around, and some from the north will come to the south. Anawhata has 2 to 3 pairs. Piha has regularly 2. I think Dudley will be the most up to date on that. And yeah, even Tehenga, like the little small bay to the south of Tehenga, that usually has a pair in it, and it's usually a pair at Tehenga beach itself. And that's as far as I've been tracking. I'm not sure how many are north of Muriwai, because I haven't checked those places. So that's the New Zealand dockerel, the big picture in the middle. We have variable oyster catchers around the coast. Anywhere rocky or sandy is probably going to have some of those. And there'll be pairs, they're really noticeable because they're blackbirds sitting on the beach, and if you get anywhere near the nest, they're going to fly at you and let you know that you're close to the nest. So they're probably pretty familiar for anyone that's been on the coast. And then the little one in the corner, we call it banded dockerel. We share those with, actually I think, no, it might be, I think they're endemic, yeah. I could be wrong. Check, need to make sure that they're not in Australia as well. But I think they're mostly New Zealand species. The bulk of the population would be the South Island, but we do have them breeding up here in the North Island as well. And that Whatipu, in that Kararaha Valley has a few pairs. So they're not super common up here, but they are around and they breed. And so those are the kind of ones I'll be mostly looking at. This is just a shot of what habitat these guys nest in. They like the sandy beaches, and so they'll just put their eggs in the middle of the beach. They'll try and, they've got spotty, speckly eggs that are camouflaged, so they usually blend in well with shells. So you might be really hard to see for you guys, but there's 2 eggs in the middle of that picture, and amongst a whole lot of shells. And that would be a banded dockerel nest. But the oyster catchers do it as well, and so do the New Zealand dockerel. They try and find somewhere out of the way, lay their egg, and then they'll use their behaviour to keep predators away. Like they'll try and lure you away by pretending to be hurt. That's one of their strategies. Or in the case of the oyster catcher, they'll fly at you and try and bully you off. So yeah, that was a big part of what I was doing for Friends of Whatipu, was finding the nests and keeping track of them, seeing how they did over time, and just following the chicks. Hopefully they'd all fledge, and recording how many made it. And like early days of Friends of Whatipu are also helping do the predator control in the dunes, because to help these guys get away we need not many stoats, not many cats, not many rats. We're going to get rid of all those guys. Just other stuff I've helped out with around here, some of the petrel surveys. So with Auckland Council, we've got the grey-faced petrel in the cliffs around here. So this is one of their dogs that helps sniff out the burrows to see if they're occupied or not. And also the penguin surveys. So this is me and Todd Landers from Auckland Council. We're looking at different places along the coast where penguins are likely to be nesting. So I know there's some out here at Whatipu. If you go around the corner next to Paratutai Island, you'll see little penguin tracks going up the beach, and they're going into the little crevices under the rocks. Yeah, and towards the end of my working for Friends of Whatipu and Auckland Council, also doing some wetland surveys. So we've got bittern in the wetlands, Spotless Creek, Marsh Creek. Like the Whatipu wetlands is a really big wetland in Auckland's area, so it's one of the best ones in Auckland, I think. And it's quite new, like it's only built up in the last 100 years. Like the waves used to go up to the cliffs, apparently, because I wasn't alive during that time, but yes, that's the stories I've heard.
That middle headland is the Ohaka Head. Yeah?
Ohaka Head would be, yeah, this one.
Yeah. Well, on the top of it there is pits, like house pits, really archaic. Yeah. So that you can see why that would be the ultimate viewing place for any enemies coming from the north or the south.
Yep.
And you can see from the top of Ohaka Head, Bombay Hill. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's quite lofty.
Good vantage points. Probably the birds think that too.
I think the
But
birds
I think the birds
maybe,
go up hill, that means they get a nice jump off to get into the air.
Yeah.
So the oi or the grey faced petrel, they're in these cliffs around us. So and hopefully they're coming back because for a long time like the numbers were declining. Yeah, so that's a nice little Tern picture to end the talk, and yeah, thank you, friends of Whatipu, for inviting me to talk. And
Oh,
thank you,
beautiful
Josie,
shape.
for